A tennis-specific gym program should not look like tennis. Now, I understand some of you may think that is the stupidest thing you've ever heard, so please hear me out before you click away. Specificity is one of the most important principles for any good training program. But I also think it is the most misunderstood and poorly applied principle by athletes and even some coaches. In this video, I'm going to explain what sport-specific training actually is, why I think it's so poorly applied, and why trying to mimic your sporting skills in the gym is probably not the best physical preparation that you could be doing. So specificity is about how well your training mimics the demands of your sport. Where most people come unstuck is that they think that just pertains to how the training looks. This would be biomechanical specificity, which is just one element of specificity. Fuck, how many times am I going to say specificity today? Things like the joint angles, the force curves, and people would use that reasoning to justify things such as selecting a box squat instead of a full range of motion squat because they believe the joint angles are a bit more running specific. Or they would make black and white blanket statements such as unilateral training is better than bilateral training. And it's the same reason why you might see someone trying to do forehands with a cable machine. They're trying to make their training biomechanically similar to the sporting skill. But to maximize specificity, we just need to think a little bit deeper than that. There's more to it than movement appearance. Again, biomechanics is only one of three considerations for specificity. So I'm going to tell you about the other two that get completely ignored or that most of you just might not be aware of. First is physiological specificity. This is how well your training mimics the demands of what your body's going through while you're playing your sport. Things such as how hard your heart and lungs are working, the type of muscle contractions that are going on and the velocity of those contractions, the timing of your central nervous system, like recruiting motor units and how many motor units they recruit, the speed of which that's being done, fatigue levels. So it's not just about how the training looks, but rather, is the training stress enough to actually cause the internal adaptation to help you get stronger or faster or fitter or whatever adaptation that you're chasing? As I talked about in my last video, there are many different physical qualities that are trainable, with each requiring their own considerations and loading strategies and things like that. In most cases, training that looks really hyper-specific, like tennis, usually doesn't do a good enough job of applying the right amount of stress or right type of stress to get anyone stronger or faster or really anything. But I'll talk more about this later. The final consideration for specificity is psychological. Does your training prepare you to focus and execute under match pressure? If you're coming back from injury, does your rehabilitation get you physically and mentally prepared to head back out on the court and into the intense demands of your sport and make you feel confident that you're not going to do an injury again? And depending on the level that you're performing at, does your training get you ready to perform under the lights in front of a big crowd, all eyes on you? So psychological specificity is just the acknowledgement that training isn't all about stress and the internal physical response, but does it actually get you ready to mentally and emotionally prepare for the demands of sport? Now, each of these three considerations lives on a continuum from specific to general. Now, the most specific thing you can do to get better at tennis is to play tennis. Match day is the most specific preparation for tennis. Like literally nothing beats just playing more matches to get better. Now, when we're in the gym, we are so far removed from the skill of tennis that we are up the general end of the continuum. And that's okay because we're using the gym to develop our hardware to give us a better general physical base upon which to play and practice tennis. A bigger fuel tank, more power, more durability. We develop these physical qualities up the general end of the continuum. Whereas ultimately, if you want that bigger serve, that's going to be best developed out on court with your tennis coach. When you're in the gym trying to do your cable forehands or trying to mimic a serving pattern or doing any shit on a Bosu ball, we're so far removed from the sporting skill that we're just living in no man's land. It's not specific enough to get us better at the sporting skill, and it's not applying the right amount of training stress to get us stronger or fitter or faster or really anything. It's the worst place you could be with your training. So here's a few practical things for you to focus on if you want your gym training to better transfer to the tennis court. First is to identify the physical qualities that you need for tennis, or even the ones that you just might be lacking in, and pick exercises that specifically train those qualities. If you're lacking in upper body power, pick exercises that train upper body power, whether it's some med ball throws or rotational slams, or even some upper body plyos. Now, if the exercise looks like tennis, that's a fantastic bonus, but remember, that is not the be all and end all of sport specific training. Secondly is to be a master of your sport. That's where your best gains as a skill-based athlete will come. I'm gonna let you in on a big dirty secret from most of the world's best strength coaches, and that is that most training programs, regardless of the sport, about 80% look the same as one another. The sport specific stuff, the 20%, it comes down to the different physical qualities that each sport needs. A tennis player might need a little bit more rotational strength and power and some upper limb and shoulder durability than, let's say, a rugby player. But a rugby player still needs strong shoulders to take those big hits. And a tennis player still needs that lower body strength and power to explode, chase down drop shots, and generate power for their ground strokes and serve. So the best sport-specific training you can do is to play and practice your sport. But in regards to sport-specific physical preparation, sport-specific gym work, train the physical qualities that will get you better at your sport. If you found this video interesting or helpful, I think you would love my last video that breaks down why I think the Bosu ball is a really shitty tool for training strength, power, and speed that transfers to the tennis court. My channel, Totem Tennis, talks about everything physical preparation for tennis. It's the total package. Training, nutrition, mindset, lifestyle, recovery. So if there's any questions you have about any of those domains, please drop a comment and I'll cover it.